We're pleased to be with Nicholas Mather, Chief Executive Director of SolGold, here at Mines and Money at Toronto. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much, Rachel.
So let's talk about SolGold and the exponential growth you've had from 40 to about 900 million Canadian market cap. Put that into context for us.
That took about a year to pull off. We had 3 capital raisings that put around about $100 million at significant premiums, up to 100% premium into the company along the way. We've seen share price growth from 2p to as high as 46p. And that just really is based on the discovery of the Alpala copper gold porphyry system in the Cascabel concession in northern Ecuador, and we aim to deliver that again with our other projects through the country.
Right, now you have a tier 1 copper gold discovery, we just talked about it. Who's it endorsed by and resourced by?
We're getting great endorsement from the industry at the moment, particularly from the presence of Newcrest Mining there, who have a 14.5% interest in the company. They're one of the world's great block cave miners. They've been prepared to put their money in at premiums, as have a number of other companies, including Guyana Goldfields, a very successful TSX listed gold miner. Having Newcrest there doesn't control the company. They can't block takeover bids. That's very important to recognise. They have agreed to follow the recommendations of the board. Newcrest is there to help, not to hinder.
Okay, really good. Now with the Ecuadorian porphyry belts that you have, it's said that they're to yield more large porphyry copper and gold discoveries. What's that based on? How do you know?
The geology of South America, Rachel, shows that there's a very prospective belt of what we call Eocene-aged rocks, about 35 to 40 million years old, that goes right through Chile. In northern Chile, this belt of rocks hosts Escondida, Chuquica, Mata, Collahuasi, maybe a quarter to a third of the world's copper resources, very rich. The same belt of rocks occurs in Ecuador. Ecuador hasn't been properly explored for these types of ore bodies, and 3.5 years ago we gave SolGold the first mover advantage in a really comprehensive top-down survey to try and find the best porphyry copper gold targets through the country, and we've secured a lot of those. It's our intention to build a great copper industry in Ecuador.
Well, how predictable is this? What sorts of technology are you basically using to your advantage?
Particularly airborne magnetics is giving us a real window through the cloud, the soil, the jungle cover that covers most of these things up in Ecuador. In Chile, there's no cover. You can see them from space. But we can see through the cover now in Ecuador, and it's like Pandora's box for us. It's fantastic operating business in Ecuador. In fact, it's one of the chosen countries in the world as far as we're concerned. The tax structure is getting lighter and simpler as they consult with Wood Mackenzie and industry in an effort to put in place the right fiscal and regulatory framework to stimulate a mining industry. They want to stimulate a mining industry. The GDP increases that are going to come from copper and gold mining will replace lower oil prices and dwindling petroleum reserves out of the western Amazon basin.
Well, lastly, let's talk about your community, because obviously you employ your staff member is 97% Ecuadorian. What sorts of impacts are you having in where you're operating?
In a year, we've gone, Rachel, from no Ecuadorian employees at all, just at the start of our exploration program. We now have about 280 of them. Get endorsement from the local community, the provincial government, as well as the federal government, and demonstrate that we're not just there to plunder the riches of Cascabel, but to contribute significantly to the growth of a very important industry and strengthen the economy in Ecuador.